Alright, here goes. Logging onto the Donut SMP after my last video, I felt so lost and directionally disoriented in a way I'm not used to feeling while playing Minecraft. I genuinely forgot where I came from, which I guess isn't a problem because I didn't plan on going back. It's just I wasn't entirely sure what I was looking for. But I knew I would feel when I found it. As I began to walk though, I started encountering grief buildings, signs of life, signs of conversations between players with mics and players that use signs to communicate. What were these players able to accomplish? Was this the last message before betrayal? Did that player ever log on again? Why does griefing seem so common? I mean, like, having a base seems essential for the Minecraft experience. I was learning that the hard way at nights in my nomadic journey, getting beat up by mobs. Around the fourth day, as the sun was setting, I came across a hole with water at the bottom. My logic was that it had to be a base, and that if it was a base underground, it had a lower likelihood of being griefed. So, I took the chance. What the? I'm gonna die. I'm actually gonna die. But by some stroke of luck, I lived. As I laid in this random crawl space, after surviving, head still spinning and my hands shaking, I couldn't help but think of one word: evil. The more specific question in my mind, seeing all the grief buildings, and then having that near-death experience was, what leads people to nefarious or negligent behaviors where they just stop caring about the effects their negligence or destruction has on other people's play experience? A Reddit post exposed me to the term moral disengagement, coined by Albert Bandura, a Canadian-American psychologist. But before I get into his ideologies, I actually think his early life experiences are not just relevant to his theories, but the Minecraft playing experience. Albert Bandura was the sixth child of a guy that literally built their home brick by brick. After his parents bought a homestead in Alberta, Canada, which at the time was like a fresh Minecraft seed, Albert says in his autobiography, manually converting land that was heavily wooded and strewn with boulders into a tillable farm with virtually no mechanization was an arduous undertaking. Yeah, arduous is putting it lightly, Albert. He then mentions that his father was responsible for the layout and construction of the road system in this newly opened homestead district. Before Albert entered college, and while he was scrounging the money to afford the college experience, Albert was very involved with trades such as carpentry, woodwork, and the physical work of helping his father with the farm. If there was a psychologist that identified with the importance of infrastructure and agency, it was Albert Bandura. Moral disengagement is the mental gymnastics done by a player to strip the morality from harmful behaviors in such a way that they don't feel guilty or responsible for the harm that they cause. Think the Stanley Milgram shock experiment, where the participants administering shocks could morally disengage by placing the blame for the harm they caused onto the authority figures that told them to shock, thankfully, paid actors that weren't actually getting shocked.
I mean, who's going to take the responsibility if anything happens to that gentleman?
I'm responsible for anything that happens here. Continue, please.
All right, next one, slow. Walk, dance, truck, music. Answer, please. Wrong. 195 volts. Dance.
But that's real life. Examples of moral disengagement in Minecraft could take forms like if they can't even escape spawn because of a few withers, they are subhuman and don't need to be on the server anyway. Their lack of skill brought this onto themselves. Or, I'm doing them a favor by griefing their base because they could be doing something else. Or, this is just a game, bro. This is great theory, but I've yet to see griefing happening live. I haven't been griefed myself yet, and my paranoia just comes from the destruction that I'm seeing. The thing that's clear to me now, though, is that I need to gear up. Look guys, I've never beaten Minecraft on my own before. I only learned the best Y level for diamonds last year. I knew I was supposed to have some gold on, but besides that, I was grossly unprepared for this first excursion. What I've learned from this trip is I should have taken some gold with me to barter, and I shouldn't be crawling around in the nether like an absolute buffoon. Should I have saved myself with the home command? Probably not. But I never thought about dying this way. This isn't really a hardcore world, but from now on, I am setting a binding vow that in a life-threatening situation, I am not allowed to use the home command or any such command-style teleportation techniques to save my life. This does not include ender pearls. My immediate goal right now, however, is clear. I want netherite. I'm not sure I have a fighting chance in defending myself against a player right now. As you guys might have been able to discern from the gameplay, I am a noob. And if I'm struggling against mobs, I will be completely dog-walked by a player if I don't have a defensive edge. And if I can't defend myself against a player, how would I ever be able to defend my base from griefing? I needed to move further away from where I was to try to get into the nether again, so that I had better chances of getting to Y15. But as I started moving, I struggled to have a firm belief that I'd be able to have a base and defend it. Albert Bandura is famous for another concept, self-efficacy. Self-efficacy is one's own belief in their capabilities. As stated in his autobiography, Dr. Bandura's research in self-efficacy started with curing patients of their phobias through behavioral therapy. The people who were cured expressed that after therapy, they experienced heightened belief in their capacity to exercise better control over their lives. Dr. Albert directly states they were putting themselves to the test in activities they formerly avoided and enjoying successes much to their surprise. Bandman's body of research goes on to prove that positive self-efficacy enhances people's lives, and the opposite, not believing in yourself or your capabilities, can be disastrous for your life. I mean, this isn't uncommon knowledge. Like, think about all those... Is that another player's voice? On my way to this clearly human-generated structure were torches. At one point, I attempted some pie chart ESP. There were definitely players in the area. I just don't know how to locate them. To be honest, I don't care to finish a tutorial on pie chart base hunting, but that didn't matter right now. I could hear people. Filled with anxiety, I scanned the immediate area, but then I realized my friend's mic on Discord was just unmuted. I crouched away, kinda relieved. Continuing my travels, the decrepit state of the environment actually got depressing. I felt myself develop a disgust for griefers and a cynicism for the entities labeled as players. Each ruin I walked into was an emphasis of this feeling that we look down upon the frivolities of any creative pursuits. Nothing of substance will ever sustain its form while we are around. Which is why I was surprised that I found this grieved but working drown farm in the sky. It made me remember that there are players out there that are worth having faith in. Since whoever made this was clearly into redstone, I left some rails in the chest, upgraded the drown farm, and after some grinding dipped. There were signs that there were people besides me that visited the area in the time frame I must have been offline for. This wasn't my main reason for leaving, but I feel I must mention I was not ready to interact with another player, even a potentially friendly player. The actions that a mob can take are limited. That's why it's easy to farm them. We know exactly how they behave and how to exploit it to our advantage, to degrees that diminish their capacity of harm as just a nuisance in the grand scheme of things. The same thing can't be said about players. Besides that point, I had to find netherite. In my second trip to the nether, I bartered and slaughtered piglins for the first time in my Minecraft career. Unfortunately though, seeking netherite at recommended levels on a server that's been around for a while was going to be tough. So because this area had probably been stripped of all its resources that I had the capacity to access without fire resistance potions, and because I was carrying too much good loot to die haphazardly, I skedaddled. Before I go back to the nether, I have to get organized. My inventory is an absolute mess. Even though I had no idea where I was in the overworld when I got back, I was beginning to feel comfortable with my nomadic existence. That was until, reaching the surface, I felt that I had found what I had been looking for. Worse than that, I saw